Hello everyone, I'm Lena, and today I'm going to elaborate on the female dressing style of the 1940s. I would like to summarize the main features of the costume ideas during that period, and first explore factors that may influence distinct costume designs. And to better analyze these outfit ideas, I consider the film Casablanca as a typical example to study the main character Ilsa Lund and her wardrobe, her clothes. And I choose this movie because the costume in Casablanca will reflect the main characteristics of clothing in the 1940s. Meanwhile, the costume guide of this movie is Ora Kelly, who was devoted to producing fashion-forward clothes for many movies of the era and won 3 awards for costume design. And to some extent, the film Casablanca can still provide decorative inspiration for clothes designers. Consequently, it is worth studying these well-designed clothes in the movie Casablanca and first exploring how these costumes embody the female dressing style of the 1940s. And specifically, for this presentation, I will illustrate the female dressing style of the 1940s from 4 perspectives. So 4. That is, the first one, what are the main features of female costumes in the 1940s? How are these features embodied in the film Casablanca? How do the outfits of Ilsa represent her personality? And last one, which factors influenced female dressing styles in the 1940s? So for part 1, part 2, and part 3, I may combine them together to better explain and demonstrate how Ilsa's costume reflects the female dressing style of the 1940s. So now let's come to the part 1. So before I introduce the features of the female dressing style in 1940s, I want to ask all of you a question. When you think of the 1940s, which kind of images will probably come up to your mind? Maybe a pimp-up girl, USO shows, or even the Roses or Reviter. Indeed, all of these styles embody the decade. And in this presentation, I mainly summarize 3 styles. The first one is the prevalence of military style. According to Niven, the military style was very popular in clothes of the 1940s. Many suits and dresses were tailored like uniforms. They were practical and did not use a lot of materials. And now let's look at this picture on the right. We can see that women in this picture were wearing dresses. They had square shoulders, namely the sharp boxy shoulders, and also the necks of these clothes were always high out with small collars. So let's look at the green dress. We can see that the green dress has a small collar. And other details such as breast pockets and belts also made the dress a uniform look. So in this picture, we can see the red dress with a pocket, the green dress with a belt, and all these elements make these dresses have a uniform look. And now let's come back to the movie. We can find that many clothes of Ilsa has military style. For example, in this picture, Ilsa wears this dress when she comes back to the nightclub to ask Rick for help. She wants Rick help her and her husband Victor to leave for America. And obviously, the dress she wears is military styled. She wears a strong-shouldered white coat that has 3 buckles at the waistline, reflecting her figure, actually. And both the shoulders and the waistline show that this is a military styled clothes. Also, she carried a handbag or a long scarf that hung over her head and back. All of these made her present a dramatic and pure image in a minimalist outfit. And actually, minimalist outfit is just a style the woman during that period desired. And secondly, another feature of women's clothes in the 1940s is the pursuit of practicality and functionality. During the World War II, there comes a whole new style of female costume, that is, the utility style. The clothes of 1940s were practical and basic. Niven claims that more and more women began to wear pants during the 1940s. For example, in this picture, we can see that all the women just wear the long pants. They also called this kind of jeans as dungarees. These outfits were particularly popular for women who need to work in a factory. Moreover, in terms of skirts or dresses, they become narrowed or slightly flared. They came to just below the knee. For example, let's look at the picture here, and we can see that there were not any decorations on the skirts, and such as ruffles. We don't have that, and it is just uncluttered. And indeed, most of the costumes in the movie Casablanca show the practicality and functionality. For instance, let's look at a screenshot of Ilsa in the movie. In this scene, Ilsa is adorned with a practical dress. This one. And we can see that the dress is not too long, and just below the knee, it is also slightly flared without any decorations. These elements directly show the feature of practicality. In addition, the wide square-shouldered sleeveless dress is accompanied with a striped blouse underneath, this one underneath, as well as a wide-brimmed white hat. It shows a nautical-themed dressing style. And actually, for me, I think this nautical-themed dressing style indirectly suggests the personality of the main character, that is brave and adventurous. I think she is undoubtedly brave because Ilsa has the courage to support her husband's business, to support her husband's political stance that is resistant to the Nazis. To some extent, she also has a bold, selfless heroism that Victor has. And now let's come to the last feature, that is the tailor suits for women. During that period, women's suits become a staple of fashion. Some people call this kind of suits as victory suits, while others may refer them to utility suits. The two-piece suits of the 1940s were all about practicality for working women. And women would mix and match suit jackets with their skirts here, let's see, and which meant that their wardrobes could be stretched further despite fabric shortages. And one typical example of this kind of new suit occurs at the end of the movie Casablanca, when Ilsa and Victor are getting on a plane to escape to America. In this scene, Ilsa wears a check mid-skirt suit and a wide-brimmed hat. This outfit reflects the trend of menswear in women's fashion in the 1940s. Costumes like the slim jacket, collared coat, and blouse had become a staple of women's clothing during that period. And now we have already learned 3 features of female dressing styles in the 1940s. But which factors could contribute to these characteristics? Namely, which factors influenced women's costumes in the 1940s? Indeed, there are mainly 3 factors. And the first factor is World War II. Undoubtedly, it is the most significant one. During the war, more and more women began to enter the workforce as most men had joined the army. They need to wear something comfortable and functional. This dramatic transformation in women's fashion clothes deliberately led to a whole new style, the utility style, which was practical and basic. And secondly, another factor is the lack of designers. For example, when the Germans invaded Paris in 1940, many workers, including the designers, went on strike. The clothing industry became too stagnant without the new clothes designed. So in this case, clothes with a military look become prevailing. Many suits and dresses were tailored like uniforms. And the last reason is the fabric shortages. The fabric shortages influenced the female dressing style of the 1940s because of the limited material used. So we can see that the clothes I mentioned before All of them are short, like the short skirt just below the knee and the short jackets. So here is a comparison between the jazz in the 1900s and the 1940s. It is easy for us to figure out that the jazz in the 1940s is much shorter than the old-fashioned jazz in the 1900s. So overall, this presentation mainly discusses the features of female jazzing style in the 1940s and explore the factors that may influence people's perception of clothing. It found that World War II had caused a lack of workforces and fabric shortages, leading to three main features of female costume ideas in the 1940s: the prevalence of military style, the pursuit of practicality and functionality, and last one, the tailored suits for women. And as for the movie Casablanca, I think it is a movie worthy of repeated watching. Not just because it is a timeless story about love, adventure, and bravery. It is also full of great fashion design from a golden generation. It continues to inspire designers today. So I think all of us should watch it. And this is my presentation. Thank you for listening, and here is my reference list. Bye!